I am so excited about today's show. I can't even tell you. I am so excited. I love having guests. I know sometimes people don't like them. I love guests, and I love this guest especially. In just a few minutes, we are going to be joined by Dinesh D'Souza, author, filmmaker, conservative conspiracy theorist, whatever you want. I don't know how whatever you're reading off of his Wikipedia page, whichever left-wing lunatic blog you're reading. Dinesh D'Souza has become really a strong proponent of Donald Trump, a strong proponent of conservatism, and we are going to be chatting with him live about he's got a brand new movie, a brand new book, Vindicating Trump. And I told you it was really exciting. When I went to D.C. a couple weeks ago, I drove up into the mountains of West Virginia, into the backwoods of West Virginia, deep into the farmland. And it was the middle of the night, and I pulled up at the compound, the well-guarded and gated compound of one Tim Pool from Timcast IRL. And Tim Pool had a huge, it was like way in the back. There's a cyber truck. There's a bunch of other mechanical things going on, and then this massive airplane hangar. But when you walk into the airplane hangars, there's no airplanes in there. There's half pipes. There's a whole indoor skate park, because that's what they do out there in West Virginia at Tim Pool's complex. And then upstairs, there's this state-of-the-art broadcast facility, and sitting right at the bar, getting ready to go on Timcast IRL, was Dinesh D'Souza. And I was like, oh, hi. And we were chit-chatting and whatever. And, I probably shouldn't have pilfered him, but I said, hey, you should come on my podcast next. And he was like, I'd love to. And so anyway, here we are. He's going to be on in just a few minutes, and I'm very excited. We have so much to talk about, not just his book, not just what's going on with Vindicating Trump, but also what's going on with the election, what's going on with FEMA, what's going on in North Carolina. And this thing is getting worse and worse by the day. Listen to what Joe Biden said when he was cornered at the White House last night about the hurricane relief, about the storm relief. Listen to this.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
All right, okay, there's a couple big problems with this. Number one, I keep forgetting Joe Biden's still the president. Number two, he doesn't know what storm they're talking about. The reporter says, what's going on in the storm zone? And Joe Biden says, what? Oh, I didn't know what storm you were talking about. And then on top of that, he says, what did he say? He said they're happy?
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board. And we gave them $750 because that's all we could scrape out of the FEMA fund, which we've basically annihilated. We've purged all of that money and sent it to, illegals in Ukraine. So they're very happy in the storm zone. Those people in Asheville who lost their homes, who lost their loved ones, those people in Asheville who don't know how or if they're ever going to be able to rebuild, those people in Asheville who never thought that they'd be victims of a hurricane but now are and aren't getting a lot of support from the government, they're very happy. They're getting everything they need. I ask you this question. Does this guy who was on Fox News with Jesse Waters, does this guy seem happy to you? Does this guy seem like he's getting everything he needs?
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. And I mean, it took 5 days for Biden to come here, and he didn't think we were worth coming down to see us himself. He had to fly over on his way to Raleigh. It's disgraceful. I mean, they keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us. So they're not for us. It's all about them. They tell us what we need instead of listening to us.
Yeah, they tell us what we need instead of listening to us tell them what we need. And they need to give us more than $750. We need relief. We need services. We need electricity. We need roads. We need help. We need medical supplies. We need people coming in here and help getting us out of here. It is it is one of those really, really annoying things about the government that they continue to tell you one thing when the opposite is true. And we'll get to more of that here in just a minute. First, though, two things real quick. If you are watching this particular broadcast, please take a minute to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, our subscriber count is growing by the day. We're getting hundreds of subscribers every day, thousands every week, and that's how we continue to grow. That's how we continue to get the message out there. If you want to know how to help these people, help us help them. We've got relief. We've got a relief effort coming on Monday. We've got some more information, and we're going to keep you informed of how the government is lying to you about what they're doing. We're going to keep you informed of all the shenanigans going on at the White House and other places. So please subscribe to this channel. If you're on Rumble, definitely hit the button. Wherever you are, if you're on Facebook, make sure you're following our channel, because I feel like Facebook doesn't really tell you when we make sure you know that we're live every day at noon Eastern, 11 Central, and set your watch to it. If you can share this broadcast, in fact, we're about to talk to Dinesh D'Souza. I'm going to bring him in live. He's waiting in the waiting room. And this guy is somebody that everyone should hear from. So take a minute and hit share. If you're on Facebook especially, share this broadcast to your page right now, because your friends, your followers, everybody's going to love it. And most importantly, your enemies are going to hate it. And is there anything better than just annoying your enemies? That's one of my favorite. That's one of my pastimes. People say, "What are your hobbies?" I go, poker, bourbon, and annoying Democrats. And those are the three things that I love to do most. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get back into the hurricane stuff, before we get into Liz Cheney taking to the campaign trail to a campaign for Kamala Harris and against Donald Trump, before we get into the Butler rally, which is scheduled for Saturday, and the incredible things, and by incredible, I mean not credible, things that are happening in Pennsylvania before that rally, I am very excited to welcome to Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, author, filmmaker, conservative, conspiracy theorist, whatever you want to call him. Please welcome Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza, thank you so much for being here. We have so much to talk about. We're going to get to Vindicating Trump, the book and the movie, which, by the way, which came first, the book or the movie? Because the movie's out now, but the book comes out next week, right?
Right. The movie came out first. I mean, I worked on them together, and in some ways the book provides a sort of script for the movie, but the movie is out in theaters. Will later be in streaming and DVD, and the book comes out very shortly. You can be pre-ordered now, and you'll get it in a few days.
Oh, that's fantastic. And and like I said, I'm excited to talk to you about all of that. But we have this ongoing crisis here in the United States of America with the people in North Carolina and the Appalachian Mountains near Boone, near Asheville and Hendersonville, who are going on day 6 or almost a week now of the most massive hurricane damage, the flooding, the mudslides, and FEMA is basically out of money, we're hearing now. And that is something that I think I've heard you say is a common, it's like basically the modus operandi for the United States government to spend the money designated for one thing on something else.
I mean, isn't it interesting that we never hear, hey, you know, the Ukraine war rages on, but the United States has no more money to give them. We wish them well, but we're out. We're tapped out. Or we never hear, hey, the illegals are coming across the border, but guess what? We've kind of given all we can give. We're not going to be giving any more grocery cards and places to live and hotel rooms. We're out of money. Sorry. In fact, we owe a lot of money as a country. But somehow, when it comes to a hurricane, when it comes to American citizens, people who should be, I mean, this is, I think, why we talk about America first, because we are living in a regime where it's clearly America, if not last, pretty far back down the line.
Yeah. And it's something we all assumed would be there. Like the FEMA, we thought if there was an emergency, there would always be money for it. We talked too, and you know, they're always threatening that Donald Trump's going to raid Social Security, that he's going to get rid of your Social Security, that it's going to be privatized. But really, it doesn't even seem like Social Security is the only problem. We've got to now protect FEMA and God knows what else.
I mean, the bad news is not just, you know, we're used to government incompetence. We saw a lot of incompetence under Katrina and so on. By and large, I think it's fair to say that whatever the government does, it does badly. We should expect that, right? It's the DMV. It's if you ever go to the immigration office, it's like crazy over there. So we should expect that. But it's one thing for the government to be incompetent. It's a whole other thing for them, like, not to give a damn.
Right.
And I think we're getting a sense here that our government particularly if they see you as you're a white guy, you're right of center, you're in a red state, you're like a family man, they demonize you.
Yeah.
And so as a result, the callousness on top of the incompetence is a little hard to take. It's really sending a very clear message. And quite honestly, it's a message that should be digested by voters. I mean, North Carolina is a red state, but it's not a bright red state. It's a red-leaning state.
Yeah.
You know, the citizens of North Carolina and Virginia and Georgia need to recognize, hey, listen, this is how you can expect to be treated under this kind of a government. If you don't want to be treated this way, you might consider having a different regime in place.
And Asheville, we talked about this yesterday on the show. Asheville is a pocket of very blue, very liberal artists and artisans and people that kind of carved out this enclave. And those are really the Kamala Harris's own voters. We've seen tons of videos of people saying, I voted for Kamala, I voted for Biden. Why are they abandoning us? And Kamala Harris, as we saw, she was out campaigning with Liz Cheney of all people yesterday instead of helping the hurricane. That's a whole other.
You know, it raises the broader question because I think of this sometimes like in San Francisco. You got voters who have voted for policies that have driven businesses away. They voted for bail reform, as they call it. They voted for defund the police. And then it's like, I got mugged on the street the other day. And I'm thinking to myself, I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for you, and a little part of me does, but I'd feel sorrier for you if you said, hey, listen, I made a horrible mistake. I voted for these policies. Look what they've brought us. But if you continue to support those policies, even after you get robbed and mugged, then honestly, I have to say you're getting what you voted for.
Yeah, it really is. You get the government that you vote for, and that's never been more true. What are the odds? Because, 2,000 Mules was a huge success. You've been doing a lot of investigating your entire career. What are the odds that we see people, either legitimately or illegitimately, voting for these same things that they're complaining about? They're complaining about illegal immigration. They're complaining about crime. They're complaining about the economy. Everybody, blue state, red state, Democrat, Republican, is paying too much for everything, and they know it. But yet there are people who are dead set on voting for Kamala Harris. Why do we think that is?
I think that there is a massive media campaign, which I would describe in this way. It's a coordinated campaign, and it says to you, listen, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't believe your pocketbook. Don't believe the prices you're paying. Don't believe the crime in your city. Don't believe the images you see of hordes of people scrambling across the border.
Right.
Instead, let's believe in this new and improved Kamala Harris portrait that we have sketched out for you. We want you to believe that. So, in other words, the point I'm making is that the campaign right now and the media campaign is based on the presumption that the ordinary American is mindlessly stupid and is going to go for this and is a sucker. And I guess we'll find out in November if it's going to work. I'm a little worried that the independent voter is exposed to this kind of propagandistic media and doesn't hear alternative media. I'm confident if they heard both sides, the ordinary guy is smart enough to go, well, that doesn't make any sense. These guys are telling the truth. But if you're only getting a diet of propaganda from one side, you might be a little more susceptible to believe it.
And we're seeing that now with these issues. I mean, it seems like it was abortion, 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 and then it was immigration on the right. Now they're trying to bury this hurricane coverage with a reignited problem of election integrity and January 6th Part 2. And even we saw it at the debate with J.D. Vance, which, by the way, I was listening to your podcast and you were talking about J.D. Vance and Mike Pence, and you described Mike Pence as a doll. Can you reiterate that metaphor for me?
Well, I mean, what I was saying was, and I remember hearing this when Trump first picked Pence in 2020. People go, well, because people would say, well, Pence is such a dullard, and people would say, well, yeah, but, Trump is such an egomaniac. He's never going to pick anyone with a personality, with opinions of their own. He wants kind of a dullard and a lapdog, and he found one, Mike Pence. But I was making the point that no, the fact that Trump picked J.D. Vance, who is himself an embodiment of the American dream, a different American dream story than Trump's, but one that is just as powerful. The fact that he's a really smart guy, he's got an Ivy League education, he's confident, and shows that Trump is actually not terrified and intimidated by strong personalities. So the Mike Pence theory is kind of out the window with JD Vance.
Yeah, and I know you went to an Ivy League institution. It's really interesting to me how they're demonizing Ivy League institute. I mean, Ivy League is. We just saw last year how the Ivy League was heading. They were spearheading the pro-Palestinian movement. They were the bastions of free speech in this anti-Israeli movement. And now all of a sudden, going to an Ivy League school is a bad thing, apparently.
Well, I mean, the schools have a lot of problems in terms of their left-wing bias and so on, But on the other hand, I've never heard someone, this is Tim Walz, by the way, who's a teacher who boasts about the fact that he has never sent a student to an elite university. He thinks it's a good thing.
I know.
And then I suppose, he calls himself like, I'm a knucklehead and, all I want to say.
Yeah.
I mean, he's either putting on this folksy act or he's actually just revealing that he's a little bit of an ignoramus and even worse, proud of it.
Yeah, no, it's true. My son right now is applying to colleges, and his school and his professors and everything, they're like, last year we graduated this many students and this many went to Ivy League universities, and they're proud of it. And Tim Walz, you're right, he's the opposite. He's like, none of my students ever make it that far. And I'm very proud of that fact. Dinesh D'Souza.
No, I mean, it's like a coach who's saying, the one thing I really gotta put on my resume is I never sent an athlete to the pros. It just never happened, and that's part of what makes me so great as a coach.
It's like the here in Jacksonville we have the Jaguars, and we're no one's bragging about. No one's going to say, oh, I coached the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's exactly right. Let's talk about the movie now. So the movie is. It's really interesting. It's a docudrama. Is that kind of? It's part of it is documentary, part of it is dramatic film, and it's talking about what Donald Trump's whole journey, but really specifically what he's encountering as far as pitfalls and pratfalls and perils coming into this election.
And why? Because it's very interesting that for the left and the Democrats, they have one obsession and one obsession alone, and it's Trump.
Yeah.
They're not obsessed with anybody else, and there has to be a reason for it. They call Trump a dictator. They don't call anyone else a dictator. They didn't even call Reagan a dictator. They'd say Reagan is a washed-up movie actor, but they wouldn't say he's trying to destroy democracy. So what I get into is what is it about Trump that makes him so threatening? I mean, Trump clearly didn't do anything dictatorial when he was in office.
Yeah.
So the charge of that he's a dictator is a little hard to substantiate. It's like, where's the list of all the leading Democrats that he locked up? Zero. Where's even the evidence that he was running the police agencies of the government? I mean, they seem to be running after him even when he was in office. So these are not the hallmarks of a dictator. By the way, dictators rig elections and they stay in power. Dictators don't lose in 2020 and have to vacate the office so another guy can come in.
That's
so
true.
All of this is a way of saying if Trump is a dictator, he's like the worst dictator in the history of the world. Right? So he's not. But he does have that larger than life dimension. I mean, here's a guy who's a massive cultural celebrity before he came into politics. So the movie, in a very creative and imaginative and enjoyable way, tells the Trump story, and the centerpiece is a pretty riveting one-on-one that I got to do with Trump, in which able to bring out aspects of his soul and his character that are not always publicly visible.
You also said, along the lines of the dictator, you said Trump has the ability to be a tyrant if he wants to be one, and that may be something what the left maybe fears. Maybe they see that, hey, if he snaps, he does have the power, he does have the following, he does have the charisma to, even with an insurrection. He didn't cause an insurrection, but he really could, right?
Right. But I think the left realizes that this power could be used to dismantle what they are doing. In other words, the left doesn't have a single sort of dictatorial figure. They function more like a junta, like a regime. So, like, who's been running the country for the past 4 years? Right. I would say it's been run by kind of a secret gang. Now, I can name some of the people in that gang. Probably Obama's in that group.
Sure.
Certainly Pelosi and Schumer are in that group. I don't know if you saw, there's a social media video where Schumer's talking and Nancy and Kamala Harris is in the background and she starts talking out of turn. And Schumer just raises his finger like, shut up in the back. and she rolls her eyes like, oops,
and this
I'm
is
caught out of turn.
This is while she's vice president, right?
Like, yeah. But I mean, right there, you begin to see who has the power. It's not Kamala Harris, it's Schumer. And so the point being that the Democrats have created this 800-pound gorilla. It's not a single individual, it's a regime. It includes the media, the police agencies of the government. It includes some aspects of the military. Trump himself is an 800-pound gorilla. And that's why they're threatened by him, because he's he's a bully that is perfectly capable of taking on the bullies on their side.
What happens if Donald Trump wins the election in November? Do we see the kind of angst and anger and the kind, because the big thing they always talk about is we need a peaceful transfer of power. And if the people speak, you've got to respect that decision. Are we going to see the tables turn? And are we going to see what we saw with, let's say, Hillary Clinton in 2016 and a bunch of other Democrats in 2000 when they were arguing about Al Gore and George Bush? Are they going to take the side of that Donald Trump did in 2020 and say this election was illegitimate?
Well, they will go absolutely berserk.
Yeah.
But the reason they will go berserk is not because because Trump stole the election or anything like that. They'll go berserk because they won't believe that despite this sort of incredible juggernaut, I mean, they thought, I think when they did the shotgun of 91 criminal charges, on the face of it, preposterous, right? Because here's a guy who goes 75 years of his life, not one criminal charge. If he was a habitual criminal, he'd have served time and so on. He'd have robbed a couple of banks. But in the year that he's running for election a second time, boom, 91 criminal charges. It's crazy. Well, but I think they thought no one can get out of that. I mean, it's okay to beat the rap here and there, but if they get you from so many different jurisdictions, you're like finished. I think they expected Trump would be out of the race and maybe in jail right now. Well, so they're getting a little desperate because this guy has he has 9 lives. He has this amazing ability to survive even assassination attempts. He turns those to his advantage. Yeah. So he's a very formidable opponent for them, and they will be out of their minds if they lose the election, and it'll be glorious to watch.
It's like this latest Jack Smith thing that this latest complaint that Jack Smith is now bringing up 30 days outside the election. Clearly, we know this has nothing to do with bringing Donald Trump to justice, because if they wanted to do that, they'd be patient and they'd set forth an actually decent case. This is clearly some kind of election interference. The movie is called Vindicating Trump. The movie's out now. It's doing exceptionally well. And there is this really unique thing going on. It's this anti-alternative Hollywood. It's movies like Reagan and City of Dreams, and of course all of your films that are doing really well at the box office. Of course, the critics hate them. Is this something we're going to continue to see? Are we going to continue to see a conservative tilt in what has always been a liberal industry?
Yeah, when I made my first film on Obama in 2012, the field was dominated by Michael Moore. He kind of owned the political documentary space. Within a few years, I was kind of the main guy competing with him, but I'm delighted to see now, there's Daily Wire does films, Am I Racist? You mentioned the Reagan film. There have been a number of Christian films. Now, I think this is good for a number of reasons. One of it is it's an end run around the media, and it's also an end run around digital censorship. Like they can try to block me on YouTube or Facebook. They can't stop people from going to the theater. Sure. Theater is the real estate business. And now that I've had 8 documentary films, I've made, $100 million or so, the theaters are like, wow, this guy, if he can bring people to the theater, we're happy to feature Vindicating Trump. So the film's in hundreds of theaters. The website is vindicatingtrump.com. If you type in your city or your town, boom, all the theaters will pop up. Really try to see it over the weekend if you can, or next week. And there's a book of the same title that you can pre-order from Amazon or Barnes & Noble or from the movie website, vindicatingtrump.com.
I'm excited to get next time I see you, I'm going to bring the book and I'm going to beg you for an autograph. I don't know when that'll be, but maybe I'll come down to Texas. Oh, can we share the news about your son-in-law real quick?
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of him. This is exciting for your whole family.
Yeah, my son-in-law, Brandon Gill, and my daughter, Danielle, they moved to Texas. And really about 6 months after they moved, this is to the northern suburbs of Dallas, the incumbent congressman said, I'm not running again. So my son-in-law, 30 years old, is the Republican nominee, and it's a red pro-Trump district. So he's going to have, I think, a fairly easy time in November. I think he's going to be the second youngest congressman.
Yeah.
I think the youngest is a Democrat.
From
but
Orlando, yeah, I know.
He'll be the second youngest. He's a really smart guy, and he's going to be really good for the cause.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations to Danielle. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to you, and congratulations on the success of the movie. Dinesh D'Souza, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
It was really a pleasure.
Man, that guy is amazing. Talking to Dinesh D'Souza is one of those things where he just seems so much smarter than the average politician. He seems so much smarter than the average person in the media, and especially the movie industry. And then when you talk to somebody about things that, this is the most amazing thing, because whenever we talk about politics or conservatism or what's really going on in the world, you get just bombarded with messages from the media and from academia and from all these other places that you're wrong, that you're crazy, that you're a conspiracy theorist, that you're a MAGA right-wing nut job. You get all those messages. But then when you sit down and you talk to somebody who's clearly intelligent and who has done the work and who has been successful in discussing these same things, it's really refreshing, and you kind of feel, well, vindicated, which I guess is why he's called his movie Vindicating Trump, which is very exciting. By the way, I have some interesting news about social media and disinformation and conspiracy theories that I'm going to share here in just a minute, but we've got to get back to still the big story. And I want to keep it the big story for a couple of reasons. Number one, people are dying. People are not happy, no matter what Joe Biden says.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay?
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board.
Oh, the storm zone. Right. Sorry, I didn't know. I thought you didn't know what you said. A storm zone. Yeah. They're very happy, those people. They're getting everything. They're getting everything. I don't know if you heard, but FEMA's giving them $750. So they're getting everything they need. Fox News put together a montage of these happy people in the storm zone who are so content and getting everything they need.
We're not getting the amount of support that we need.
We haven't seen FEMA, we haven't seen Red Cross, we haven't seen Hearts with Hands, we've seen no agencies come through here. Most people drive through with their cameras out, filming us like we're animals in a zoo, and don't stop.
How could the government do us like this, and how could the whole country just forget about us? Like, it's not enough. What is being done is not enough. I mean, there are entire communities that have been just decimated. Where is our government? I mean, for Kamala, and I am an avid supporter for her to stand in Florida today and make a statement. Where is our government?
Sources say over 1,000 troops in North Carolina are just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for orders that haven't come. They haven't heard from the North Carolina governor, and the Biden administration's blocking ongoing rescue operations.
They're in the way. They are directly interrupting our ability to conduct missions and operations. And I'm not going to disparage anybody, because we are trying to work within partner relationships, both government and non-government entities within state and federal and county. I went to put a couple of people into a hotel last night, and they have a security guard at the hotel. And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. The entire hotel has been booked for federal employees." And I was like, no, I have people that would just pull it out of a mountain that are living out in the hills, and there's not a place for me to put them because we have federal employees that are staying in the hotel. I slept in this white car last night. I smell like foot and death right now, as does every single person on our team.
No, but they've got everything they need. They're very happy. They don't need the hotel rooms. They don't need the hotel rooms. They're very happy. They don't need showers. They don't need food. You're wrong. You're wrong about that. These people in North Carolina, what Joe Biden said, that the people in the storm zone are very happy. They're getting everything that they need.
It's too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Yeah, I mean, FEMA, I don't know. Maybe this guy that says he's not getting everything he needs, this guy here,
We're not getting the amount of support that we need.
Maybe he didn't hear Joe Biden yesterday say that he actually does have everything that he needs. Oh, speaking of hotels, because a lot of people are saying, why is FEMA so bad? Why is FEMA so delinquent? Why is it that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are kind of ignoring this tragedy? Why is it that they can't get the supplies they need? Why is it they only get $750 measly dollars? Where's all the money that FEMA has? Well, that's a good question. And Eric Trump has the answer.
Sean, right now there are 157 hotels in New York City that are completely full of illegal immigrants. Let me just repeat that number. 150 hotels in New York City that are completely full of illegal immigrants. New York City alone spends over $1 billion a year on illegal immigrants. And then you see these pictures of husbands and wives and children who have lost everything. Their homes have floated down rivers. Their homes have been taken out by mudslides. Their vehicles are gone. Their picture albums are destroyed. Every sentimental value that they could ever possibly imagine is gone. You know, will never be brought back. And what does Kamala do? She comes out and offers $750. $750. The TV in the person's house costs more than $750, and you see the absolute destruction. Sean, of all the political things that I've seen in the last decade, this is the one that bothers me the most. Hands down, by far. We have spent $200 billion sending money over to Ukraine and Russia to see young, innocent 21-year-old kids in dirty trenches pop around corners and shoot each other in the face with AK-47s. You watch these videos on YouTube, the lives are expunged in a matter of seconds. $200 billion America has sent over there. Yet we can't take care of our own in Georgia and North Carolina and Virginia. In Florida, $750. We send billions to places like Pakistan. And they won't tell us that bin Laden is literally living next to their equivalent of West Point. Yet we offer devastated families, the very people you're showing on the screen right now, we offer devastated families $750. Sean, this is the worst administration in the history of the country. These aren't serious people. Frankly, I think they're cruel people. The way they put Americans last is absolutely cruel. And I hope every single person going to the polls on November 5th and before in early voting will remember exactly who these people are.
I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. They're very happy. They have everything that they need, according to Joe Biden. Once he remembered what the hell he was talking about.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay?
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board.
Across the board. Across the board. Not one person from Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee. Not one person needs anything. Not one person is sad or crying. Across the board, they're getting everything they need, except they're not. Because the government doesn't have any more money. The government sent their money away, sent it to Ukraine, sent it to New York. They gave it to the illegal immigrants that they are bringing across the border. And Donald Trump was out campaigning yesterday and wanted to remind everybody about the scam that the government is running, the pyramid scheme that the government is running with your money that has been designated for one thing but has been spent on something totally different.
If you want to see how sick and distorted Kamala Harris's priorities are, just consider FEMA. F-E-M-A. You know what that is, right? The Federal Emergency Management Agency. And you read about now all the time because there's nobody that's handled a hurricane or storm worse than what they're doing right now. Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants, many of whom should not be in our country, including $1 billion for gift cards for illegal aliens and putting them up in luxury hotels. With a gift card to welcome them to America as our veterans are sleeping on the sidewalks below those hotels and they're being walked into luxury hotels.
By the way, that's a lie. That's a lie. That one, Kamala Harris, those $1,000 gift cards, that's a lie. That's not from Kamala Harris. Those are from you. Those are from me. We are the people that spent the money thinking it was going to go into the Federal Emergency Management Agency so that when there was a federal emergency, they'd be able to manage it. as you would think by their silly us. We're just, we're just going by the context. The context clues tells us that, hey, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is funded by the government and the taxpayers so that if there's a federal emergency, they can manage it. They can get into where the people are. They can deliver them the goods that they need. They can deliver them the food. They can help rebuild. They can get them out of there. They can put them into a hotel, but that's not what's happening. They're getting $750 and they're being left to fend for themselves, which, by the way, $750 is ridiculous. There's no place to spend the money. There's no place for these people to go. The grocery stores, Harris Teeter has 5 feet of water. The Walmart is out of food. The hotels are being filled up with federal agents. There is nothing for them to buy. They can't go to Amazon because A, they don't have electricity, B, they don't have Wi-Fi, C, their computers are probably at the bottom of the river. And if they even could go to Amazon and order something, Amazon couldn't deliver anything to them. And even if they could, the federal agents probably wouldn't let them through because their orders are to not do anything. Why? Because there's no money. Why? Because Kamala Harris spent it on Ukraine and on illegal immigrants. And that was your money for your federal emergency, of which we have now. That's why this is so important. That's why this story trumps all. They're going to sit there and they're going to get on television and they're going to get on Twitter and they're going to try to tell you, you know what the big problem is? Election interference, election integrity. You know what we need to worry about? We need to worry about Donald Trump not accepting the election results. Donald Trump will accept the election results because they'll be in his favor. You don't need to worry about Donald Trump saying this election was rigged because he's going to win it. It has to be too big to rig. They're trying. They will try. We've already seen evidence of things that are a little quirky. We'll get to that in just a minute. But Ashley Moody from Florida, who, look, nobody knows more about Florida, about hurricane relief and dealing with FEMA than people in Florida. I've been here for 2 decades. And in 2 decades' time, I have heard... we've lived through so many hurricanes. We've lived through so many hurricane relief efforts. FEMA is, this is FEMA Central. It's this entire area is where FEMA basically, there's round the clock, full-time, 24/7 FEMA operatives on the ground in Florida during hurricane season. We know about FEMA. And so Ashley Moody, Attorney General, had a couple of choice words about what's been going on with the particular lack of resources in this particular crisis.
Good morning, Todd. Yeah, everyone should be waking up this morning outraged by that comment. This is not something that has just happened recently, and Florida's been warning about this since this administration took over. Mayorkas has come in like a virus and infected these what need to be healthy, strong, fundamental programs to ensure the stability and safety of Americans in times of disaster. So you heard, they have taken the FEMA Emergency Food and Shelter Program and over time siphoned off hundreds of millions of dollars into basically making it an illegal immigrant resettlement program. And so when you see these states and cities around the nation declaring emergencies, even blue states, because of what this administration has done, encouraging more and more and more, developing programs to encourage more and more and more people to come here, the government, Biden and Harris, are having to fund that on the backs of the American people. And now, right now, in Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, all of these states are hurting because of this truly natural disaster, not a Biden-Harris-made disaster. They're saying we need more money. And of course they need more money because they've been laundering it from the true intended purpose of this fund that Congress set forth.
And by the way, it's not laundering, it's just stealing. It's not laundering would be, oh, we're taking money out of FEMA and we're going to go here and then eventually it comes back clean. They're stealing it. They're going into your rainy day fund. No pun intended. That's what FEMA is, the world's largest rainy day fund. When it rains, like it did in North Carolina, have no fear, we got the money for it. If the roof collapses or the AC goes out, don't worry, we've got a rainy day fund and it's raining, so we're going to go and do whatever we need to do. They've been stealing from it to go hang out with their buddies, to go, they have some kind of infatuation with illegal immigration. They have an infatuation with these migrants, and they are willing to steal from their own citizens and put their own citizens through the worst torture, basically, to support their illegal immigration habit. It's a habit. It's like if you were addicted to drugs. Okay, perfect example. Pretend you're Hunter Biden and you're addicted to crack cocaine and Russian hookers. And one day you're at the Chateau Marmont before you got kicked out forever. Before you became PNG at the Chateau Marmont and got a permanent lifetime ban. Before that happens, you're chilling at the Chateau Marmont, Beverly Hills. You got your crack pipe in one hand and your Russian whore in the other. And all of a sudden, the Russian whore says, "It's time to settle, Bill." And you go, "Oh no, I'm all out of cash. I spent it all on crack." And now the Russian hooker's like, "Well, I need my money." So you pull out Daddy's American Express card and she calls it in. The only problem is Daddy's vice president of the United States, and 2 hours after the Russian hooker runs Daddy's Amex card, the White House is on the phone with the Secret Service, and they're showing up at your door, and they're saying, "Hunter, get dressed, put down the pipe. You're needed at the White House immediately. You're stealing." Oh, sorry, I banged on the desk. Now the dogs are barking. You're stealing from the government the people's money to give to the Russian hooker because you spent all the money on your addiction, which is crack cocaine. Same thing's happening right now. The government is stealing from the people because they spent they need money for these folks in North Carolina. They need money for FEMA. They don't have it. They spent it all on their addiction, not crack cocaine, immigration. And why are they addicted to immigration? Elon Musk, by the way, shared this video, which I think was amazing. Elon Musk shared this video. I don't know how old it was, but it's Chuck Schumer. And he's literally laying out the entire plan for the Democrat Party to recreate a contingent of voters that will keep them in power forever.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
By the way, did you hear at the end? He said 11 million or however many there are. 11, oops. All 11 million or however many there happen to be. 20 million? 21? 25? How many million? He doesn't even know. Or if he does, he doesn't want people to know. The 11 million or however, it could be. I'm pulling that number out of. But that's the whole plan. First thing that the Democrat Party does is they promote abortion like it's the cool thing to do, like it's your right. They promote the right to an abortion, the right for a woman to do whatever she wants to do with her body, women's health care. They promote it the way that the Republicans promote, the Second Amendment. And it's amazing. So they made abortion so fashionable and so exciting that women, what was the woman's name? I think she was from that HBO show. I forget her name, but she said she was so excited to get her first abortion or something ridiculous like that. That's what the Democrats did. They made it this cool thing that women have a right to do no matter what, no matter how pregnant they are. And if you stand against it, you are against women. And now that they've made abortion so cool, the American population has gone down and we're running out of workers. We don't have enough people in the workforce. Why? We don't have enough people. Why? Because we've been promoting abortion. The dogs hate that, by the way. And so now Chuck Schumer's saying, here's the solution. Instead of going back and saying we were wrong about abortion, we need people. Instead of going back and promoting reproduction and saying, hey, you know what would be great? You know what would be really handy is if you guys had families. If you had multiple kids, instead of saying, you know what, we're going to limit the access to abortion because it's important that we reproduce and build up our population because we need people in the workforce, not just the workforce, by the way, but the military. The numbers are down drastically, sure, because nobody wants Joe Biden as their commander in chief, but also there's just fewer people out there. And so in order to protect ourselves economically and in order to protect ourselves militarily and in order to protect ourselves across the board, you know what we need? More people. And since we're not having them, let's just open up the border and let them all come in. And then we'll just give them amnesty. Then we'll just make them citizens. And we'll register them to be Democrats at the same time. That's exactly what's going on. And the people in North Carolina should be outraged. This hurricane has been so inconvenient for the Democrat Party What they wanted to do, and we saw this in the debate, they set up J.D. Vance at the end of the debate, and they set up Tim Walz with this answer, this Q&A at the end of the debate. They knew that they weren't winning on abortion anymore because Donald Trump said it's a state's issue, and I'm not for a federal abortion mandate. They knew that wasn't going to be their answer. They knew that immigration was so bad. The dogs and cats being eaten by people in Springfield, Ohio that Donald Trump threw out there during the first presidential debate, that stuck. That became a TikTok trend, and all of a sudden people were petrified about immigrants eating their dogs and cats and their pets. They made songs about it. I mean, that is a cultural phenomenon right there, and Kamala Harris is laughing about it, but really she's like, oh my God, that's going to go viral, and now immigration is going to be the big problem. Immigration and the economy. Those are the only two things that matter, immigration and the economy, and the Democrats can't run on either of those because their immigration czar never went to the border until last week. And their economic policy, Bidenomics, has caused massive inflation and jacked up the prices of pretty much everything that you could buy. And that is why they're going back to the insurrection. They're going back to January 6th. They're going back to did Joe Biden win the election in 2020? They're going back to, will Donald Trump accept the result? They're going back to the most important thing in this country is the peaceful transfer of power. And the problem they're having now is that this hurricane that they were trying to ignore just won't go away. And thank God for the Republicans out there letting people know this hurricane is a big problem. The government's trying to brush it under the rug. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are ignoring it, and these people need help.
Sean, this is the gravest betrayal of American citizens this country has ever seen. The reason why those Americans in North Carolina, those mothers, those fathers, those precious little children were left to die, were left on rooftops begging their government for help that never came, is because Kamala Harris turned FEMA into an illegal alien resettlement agency. Its manpower, its dollars, its resources, its mental energy was spent over the last 4 years learning how to do one thing, how to get illegal aliens from outside the country into your town. And so when disaster struck, they were not ready, they were not prepared, they were not capable, and they did not care. And our fellow citizens, including babies, children, young kids, were left to suffer and drown. They did not scramble the helicopters. They did not scramble the military. They did not send needed assistance. But if those children had been living in a foreign country, they've been living in Haiti, or they've been living in Venezuela, why then Kamala Harris would have sent in help immediately. A betrayal like we've never seen before, Sean. This is infuriating.
What is the point of a government if it doesn't protect its own citizens? What even is the point? What is the point of a government that doesn't protect its own citizens? What is the point of a government who basically ignores and abuses and just, destroys the country that it's representing? I mean, it's self-destructive. And that's what we're starting to see. But this is a big problem for the Democrats because they did not want this election to come down to immigration. And now we're starting to see it again. This hurricane, which they can't even spin into a global warming debate. They've tried, and no one's buying that BS. What they're doing now is they're petrified because what this hurricane has done is it's brought up the question about FEMA. And people are now realizing the FEMA money's gone. And where did it go? To the immigrants. Everything goes back to immigration. The crime rates being up in big cities, the Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio, it all goes back to immigration. Jobs not being readily available, costs soaring, it all goes back to immigration. Terrorists in our homeland, it all goes back to immigration. And now, FEMA not being ready, not being prepared for a massive emergency, it all goes back to immigration. This election is about illegal immigration. That's all it is. And that's why they're doing everything they can to try to make you forget that it's about illegal immigration. They're even hauling old Liz Cheney back up to tell you that Donald Trump is just a horrible person.
I don't care if you are a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. That is depravity, and we must never become numb to it. Any person who would do these things can never be trusted with power again. We must defeat Donald Trump on November 5th.
Now, Liz Cheney, for whatever reason they feel is going to be the person to bring the... Liz Cheney couldn't even win her own congressional district last. She got pummeled. Yet she's the one that they feel can win the election. And the interesting thing about Liz Cheney is that she gets up there to talk about how conservative she is, and then she basically turns around and endorses a socialist. Wait, I had that clip. Hang on, I got it right here. Here is Liz Cheney talking about how conservative she is, and then turning around and endorsing a socialist.
I am a Ronald Reagan conservative. I believe in limited government. I believe in low taxes. I believe in a strong national defense. And I believe that the private sector is the engine of growth of our economy. I believe that the family, and not the government, is the most important structure in our society.
Now, this is weird for a couple of reasons. Number one, the Democrats are against all of that. They don't like private equity. They don't like private companies. They want the government to be as big as possible, and they've worked diligently to do so. They've taken your tax dollars and inflated this government into a size that is well beyond where it should be or where it needs to be or where it's actually sustainable. Also, they're anti-family, and we can go back to the abortion argument. We can go back to the transgender argument. We can see how they've been ripping families apart. They've been encouraging families to get into political debates. They don't want a strong family because they know that if the family is strong, then people don't need to turn to the government for assistance. And if they don't need to turn to the government for assistance, they can't claim power over people's lives. But wait, there's more.
I am a Ronald Reagan conservative. I believe in limited government.
Oh no, did I start it over? I can't take any more of her. But the gist is that Liz Cheney has done something that all Democrats have done when they're trying to win elections. She's flip-flopped. She hates Donald Trump so much. She's so egomaniacal. She can't believe that when she told voters Donald Trump is bad, when she went back to Wyoming and tried to run on an anti-Trump ticket, the way this works is, as a representative of your state, your job is to represent your state. And the state of Wyoming voted for Donald Trump. Her district voted for Donald Trump. Liz Cheney went to Washington, D.C. and actively worked against Donald Trump, voted to impeach him. How are you representing the people in your district if the people in your district said, hey, Liz, we want Donald Trump to be president? The vast majority of Wyomingans want Donald Trump to be president. And we're sending you to D.C. to represent us. And she gets there and goes, great, okay, great. And she gets there and goes, Donald Trump must not be the president. I'm going to impeach him. And the people back in Wyoming were like, whoa, 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 lady. We told you the opposite. We voted for the guy. You're trying to get him. And Liz Cheney comes back and she doesn't say, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. She goes, you're wrong. All of you people in Wyoming are wrong. And so now she's campaigning for Kamala Harris, which is weird because there's a clip that has been unearthed about how radical Liz Cheney believes Kamala Harris to be.
Look, I think that the pick was somewhat surprising. Joe Biden has really been trying to portray himself as the moderate in this race, as somebody who is a centrist. And in one fell swoop here, he has put somebody on the ticket whose voting record in the Senate is to the left of Bernie Sanders.
What happened? Where'd my clip go? Hang on. I got it. Wait, I got it right here. Oh, there we go. Wait, there we go. Let me play that for you one more time. I'm having a little issue with Liz Cheney. She's giving me real problems. Here it is.
I don't care.
Wait.
I am.
Oh, forget it. Well, we're done. We're done with this. Is God telling me to stop playing Liz Cheney clips? Wait, maybe this is it.
Look, I think that the pick was somewhat surprising. Joe Biden has really been trying to portray himself as the moderate in this race, as somebody who is a centrist. And in one fell swoop here, he has put somebody on the ticket whose voting record in the Senate is to the left of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. So I think that, the American people are going to look at the substance of this. They're going to look at what she stood for in the past. They're going to look at what she said during the primary election. And it's very clear. She is a radical liberal. She's somebody that has said we ought to spend $32 trillion on Medicare for all. If you look at her record as well in California, she did, in fact, essentially ban gun sales with executive action. And she threatened during the primaries to do the same thing if she's elected. If she were elected here. So I do think the American people are going to take a look at this record and realize she is very much a radical liberal.
A radical liberal who Liz Cheney is endorsing for president of the United States of America. It's really a bizarre time, and it's eye-opening, and I think that we're all starting to realize that. In addition, there is, oh, by the way, they asked Donald Trump about Liz Cheney, and this was an interview after his rally yesterday.
I am a Ronald Reagan.
Oh my God, I don't care. No one cares about you and your Ronald Reagan. Where is it? Maybe it's here.
We're not getting the amount of support.
No. All right. My clips got all bastardized. Anyway, we'll play that for you. Wait a minute. No, I had it here somewhere. Hang on. I'm going to find it because this is a good one. This is where Donald Trump calls her, it's either deranged or something else. Wait, I have it. Let's see. Donald Trump, is this it? This is it.
Kamala Harris is out on the campaign trail today with Liz Cheney. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Liz Cheney lost for Congress. She was terrible. Liz Cheney is a stupid war hawk. All she wants to do is shoot missiles at people. I really think it hurts. I think, frankly, I think they hurt each other. I think they're so bad, both of them.
I think he's right. I think that she is a stupid war hawk. I think she does hurt Kamala, and Kamala hurts her. If you're a moderate, you're not going to have people go to the polls and say, you know what? I can't decide if it's Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, but you know what? Liz Cheney really likes Kamala Harris, so I'm going to go with her. That's not what you're going to do. You're going to go, wow, Kamala Harris, Liz Cheney, a backstabbing Republican who claims one thing but does the other. Liz Cheney, daughter of Dick, who, let's be honest, Dick Cheney is the boogeyman. Dick Cheney is the villain. Dick Cheney for decades was the most hated man in America. He was the most hated vile villain in America. And as a result, Dick Cheney is not going to be a draw for moderates. The fact that they're out there saying Dick Cheney is for Kamala Harris, nobody respects Dick. Nobody's like, Dick's for her? Great. If Dick likes her, then I like her too. Nobody wants to be like Dick. And they definitely don't want to be like Liz. And that's why Donald Trump says they're hurting each other. And he's 100% right. That's why they're doing things that may seem like election interference. There was an article the other day that claimed that people were getting their mail-in ballots and they were already sealed. We talked about that. The website for the Pennsylvania voter registration had scheduled maintenance. Guess when they were scheduling their maintenance for? Right during Donald Trump's return to Butler, Pennsylvania. Donald Trump is going back to Butler, Pennsylvania tomorrow. This is the site of the first known assassination attempt, the one we all witnessed. As I was flying to Wisconsin to Milwaukee for the Republican National Committee back in June, all of a sudden we're watching CNN, we're watching Fox News, which it's still on to me that every single cable network happened to be streaming this particular Donald Trump rally when not every cable network seemed to stream Donald Trump rallies, but that's a story for another day. All of a sudden, Donald Trump turns his head and bam, ow, bam, what's going on? Fight, fight, fight. Butler, Pennsylvania, they never got the rally. Now he's going back. He's going back tomorrow. And it will be one of the largest, one of the most boisterous, one of the most promoted, one of the most watched Donald Trump rallies in history. And as a result of this rally being one of the, you want to talk about an iconic rally, Donald Trump going back to the very place where they tried to kill him and doing a rally 30 days before the election. Literally, tomorrow's October 5th, and this election is on November 5th. We're talking about 1 month, 31 really, because of Halloween. But you've got all of these people that are going to witness this. And so, what does the Pennsylvania voter registration website decide to do? They decide to undergo scheduled maintenance during Donald Trump's rally. So if you are a voter in Pennsylvania or you're watching this rally and you think, you know what, I want to register to vote so I can vote for Donald Trump, you wouldn't be able to because the website would be down. Well, our good buddy Scott Pressler, who has uprooted his life and moved to Pennsylvania, saw this, acted on it, and got some positive changes made. Here he is talking to Jack Posobiec. Listen carefully.
We discovered by going to the voter registration website for Pennsylvania that they were scheduling maintenance during the exact time that President Trump is doing his rally, his historic rally, triumphant return to the site of the assassination attempt in Butler. Now, anyone that knows anything about IT knows that usually maintenance is done in wee hours of the morning, 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. This was scheduled originally from Saturday, October 5th, from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. And just for our viewer to know, the Trump rally was going to begin at 5 p.m. And so it was clear that the Pennsylvania Department of State was engaging in election interference, trying to stop all of this national attention from translating into new voter registrations. And so our early vote action team posted across social media. And I want to give a shout out to Laura Trump, because Laura Trump immediately flagged this issue. And I'm proud to say, Jack, that time has been changed now to 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. I'm still not 100% happy with this. I think it's still election interference, but it shows you public pressure campaigns that are peaceful, they work and get things done.
Well, I appreciate that. And bravo to Scott Pressler for bringing that to attention. And bravo to Laura Trump for jumping in there as co-chair of the RNC. I'm still skeptical. And rest assured, I will be, while I'm watching the rally tomorrow, checking diligently, refreshing my browser to see if I would be shocked if that website still didn't somehow go down. Or maybe they'll say, oh, it's due to maybe they'll say we're getting an influx of traffic and the servers are down. Something's going to happen because they are definitely doing whatever they can to make it difficult for people to register to vote, especially at times when those people might be inspired by a Republican to register for the 2024 election. There's another thing that popped up, and I wrote about this in my Patriot Dispatch this morning, which, by the way, if you don't get it, you can go to markkaye.com and you can sign up. There's this story that popped up, and it was really interesting timing. This is something that caught my eye. It was on the Drudge Report this morning. A brand new study: conservative users' information sharing drives higher suspension rates, not platform bias. What this is this is a study that was commissioned by MIT doctors and a bunch of other, liberal people from those same Ivy League organizations we were talking about Dinesh D'Souza about earlier. And basically what they're saying is, we did an intensive study. We went into the laboratory. We looked at people who've been doxxed and canceled and cut out and deleted from social media. If you've had an account suspended, we looked at it and we figured out why. It's not bias on the part of the social media outlet. It's not bias on the part of Silicon Valley. It's not because the left-wing nut jobs that own these places are working in conjunction with the Democrat National Committee in the White House to suppress any kind of anti-Democrat or pro-Trump rhetoric that they may see. So they're not out there trying to suppress stories like, oh, I don't know, the Hunter Biden laptop story. No, that's not it. It's misinformation sharing. And look, they've got these little graphs and they've got these little things here and they've got this whole story. Let me read to you what this actually says. A new paper, Differences in Misinformation Sharing Can Lead to Politically Asymmetric Sanctions, published in Nature magazine, it's weird, suggests that the higher quantity of social media policy enforcement, such as account suspensions for conservative users, could be explained by the higher quantity of misinformation shared by those conservative users, and so does not constitute evidence of inherent biases in the policies from social media companies or in the definition of what constitutes misinformation. What these clowns on the left have done is they've said, you know what? We need a study that shows that conservatives spread more misinformation and that our platforms aren't biased politically. So they get a bunch of doctors together to create this study that says, okay, whatever you just said, That's what we'll put in our study. The big problem is what constitutes misinformation. The people on the left are defining misinformation, and they're using this study based on their definition, when misinformation is not a clearly defined term. Misinformation is something that is apparently arbitrary. That one person could feel something is information, the other person could feel it's disinformation. Case in point, the New York Post's Hunter Biden laptop story, which was suppressed for being Russian disinformation, when me, you, millions of other people, the New York Post, one of the largest and longest running publications in our country's history, Kayleigh McEnany, the White House press secretary, all of these people at the time said this is good, solid information that people need to know. The left said, no, it's misinformation. Turns out they were wrong and we were right. You can't use misinformation, an arbitrary term. You can't use any one person's definition of misinformation, because my definition is going to be different from someone else's, to tabulate and form this study that shows that the reason that Republicans are suspended off of these accounts more often is because they share low quality news. That's what they call it too, low quality news. In fact, you'll see, look at this, low quality news sharing versus fact checker rating. And we all know where the fact checkers come from. Low quality news sharing via politically balanced layperson rating. Now, what this means is, look at this. Fox News and the New York Times. If you shared a Fox News story or a Breitbart story or a New York Post story or a Daily Mail story, you were more likely to be banned because that's low quality news. Low quality. If you shared, however, the New York Times or CNN or Raw Story or CBS News, that's a high quality news site. So you're less like, so the problem isn't the social media websites. It's you sharing this low quality news from these conservative websites like Fox and Breitbart. That's low quality news, according to the liberal fact checkers who produced this study. This, of course, was highly interesting to me because, wait a minute, this was highly interesting to me because I have just written a book basically outlining exactly what they're claiming is not happening. And it's called Cancel Proof, my proven social media strategy for conservatives to thrive online. And it's available right now at markk.com/cancel. Before I tell you about the offer, let me tell you one more thing. There's a reason this is coming out right now. The reason they're producing this study right now, telling you that if your account gets suspended, it's your own damn fault. The reason they're releasing this study saying if your account gets suspended, it's because you're sharing low quality news. The reason they're releasing this report right now saying if your account gets suspended, it's not because we're biased, it's because you're spreading misinformation, is because they are about to cancel and suspend a whole bunch of conservative accounts. And they need something to say, here's why we did it. They need something to pinpoint. When you complain about your account getting suspended because you shared, I don't know, my Dinesh D'Souza interview from earlier, or you shared a clip from Dinesh D'Souza's latest film, or you wrote something about how FEMA has been savaged by the government so that they could spend the money on illegal immigrants. When you do that, they can look at it and say, we don't want people knowing that. We want people talking about abortion and election integrity. So we're going to suspend these Republicans. And then when you complain about it, they're going to say, no. It's not us. Look, it's not us. It's you. It's you. You're one of you've been sharing these low quality news sources. That's why we got rid of your account. It had nothing. We're not biased. You are a right-wing nut job. And we have now a study to prove it. That's why this study's coming out right now. Because the suspensions are about to heat up. And that's why you need to order Cancel Proof. You need to know how to protect yourself, how to protect your morals, how to speak your mind, how to be politically active on social media without getting deactivated by social media. You need to know how to be a combative conservative but not get thrown in Facebook jail or be demonetized or doxxed or canceled. You need to protect your right of freedom of speech, not just in the workplace or around, in walking around town, but you need to do it online. It's like Dinesh D'Souza basically said earlier today what Tucker Carlson said. He said, look, they can't censor people going to a movie, so I'm going to make movies. And sure enough, you go to the theater, you buy your ticket, you can see the movie, you can get everything you want. They wouldn't allow that movie on Facebook. They wouldn't allow it on YouTube or anywhere else. But the movie theaters are all about making money. And if you can get butts in seats, they'll put your film on the screen. Same thing Tucker Carlson said about live events. Why did he go to 15 cities and do 15 live events instead of in front of 15,000 people per venue? Because you can't censor a live event. If you follow what I say in Cancel Proof, you'll be censor proof as well. You'll be cancel proof. My proven social media strategy for conservatives to thrive online. Best thing about this book is it's 2 books in 1. You get the book and you get the audio book. If you order today, go to markkay.com/cancel. Mark K, MARKKAYE.com/cancel. It's $24. There's no waiting. You get the book immediately. It's delivered to you today, both in the written format and the audio format. You can read it, you can listen to it, you could do whatever you want with it. And you can learn from it. You can hear the tales of what I went through being canceled and demonetized and doxxed and fired from every single media platform, including radio and TV. You can hear stories about other people like Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump and how they bounced back and how we all became smarter and stronger and wealthier and more powerful after getting canceled than ever before. And most importantly, you can learn how to protect yourself and your voice and your business online and elsewhere. markkay.com/cancel. MARKKAYE.com/cancel. CANCEL. Get your copy today. Be listening to it in minutes. Also, at 2 o'clock, in like 50 minutes, I go live in my ACES group, the American Conservative Empowerment Society, which we've been doing since February. Well, this is an amazing group of individuals. And when you purchase Cancel Proof today, right after you purchase the book, you'll go there in a minute, you'll purchase the book, you're going to be taken to a screen where I'm offering a 7-day trial of ACES, the American Conservative Empowerment Society, for only $7. And at 2 o'clock today, if you get there in time, you can join us for our weekly Q&K call. I used to call it Q&A, but then I realized it'd be much quirkier if I called it Q&K. So that's what we do. And all of the ACES, everyone in our American Conservative Empowerment Society gets together on a Zoom call, and I say, "What do you guys got?" And they hit me with questions about marketing, about business, about being a conservative, about social media, about podcasting, about politics, about creativity, about everything. Advertising. And they say, "Here are my questions." And I say, "You know what? Here's my answer." And then we regroup. We do it every week, every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern inside the American Conservative Empowerment Society. And when you buy Cancel Proof today, you will be offered a 7-day trial for only $7. That's $1 a day, which means you could join us today. Have your questions answered today if you get in there in time. And like I said, you got about 45 minutes, which means I got to wrap this up. But listen, thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. Thanks to Dinesh D'Souza, an amazing guy, an amazing conservative, an amazing American. His movie's out now. It's called Vindicating Trump. The book comes out next week. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget, we are live every day till Election Day. So noon tomorrow, if you're not doing anything, you need to be right here, because it's important that we get this message out. It's important that we make sure that everybody knows how they're coming after you, how they're stealing from you, what the government's really doing. It's important that everybody needs to know where we need to see change in the government and how rotten to the core Washington, D.C. really is. It's really important that everybody has the information, the inspiration, the enlightenment, the energy, and of course, the entertainment that you need to stay vigilant and to stay inspired and to stay energized so that we can continue to fight today, tomorrow, the next day, through November 5th and beyond, because that's the only way we will ever save the Republic. Go get your copy of Cancel Proof. Take advantage of the 7-day trial offer for ACES, and I'll see you at the live Q&K in about 45 minutes. Go to markkay.com/cancel.